Hey, this is Sexy African Cichlids. In this video we're looking at how I improve the color of my African Cichlid Peacocks. Because that's something you want to do if you have some African Cichlid Peacocks and improve their color. It's not something you do one day and not the next. You want to continually try to improve them because you want your peacocks to look the best, not just for yourself, but for others, and especially if you do YouTube videos. So let's take a moment to look at all these fish here and the improvements I've made to get them looking great. So stay tuned. Let's just take a moment to look at all these fish passing in front of the camera here. I just let them pass. I won't move the camera. Let's just let them go in front, back and forth. Now let me tell you about a situation I've had if you've not watched my previous videos. As this is a 125-gallon aquarium, 125-gallon aquarium, and it is jam-packed with African Cichlid Peacocks. Now the situation I ran into was when I took the water down so low, there was a problem with them getting enough oxygen in the water during the process of doing the water change. But through some suggestions of viewers and some workings out with what I had, I was able to take a circulator, and as the water dropped, I used it to keep the top of the water movement going to keep the water oxygenated. That did great. Also, there was enough oxygen to begin with, more oxygen than previously because of improvements to the filtration system. Now what I mean by that is, if you look up to the top here, there's a lot more flow, and there's actually some bubbles going in there. There's more oxygen going in the water at all times. So during the process of the water change, there was already plenty of water in the remaining water that was left after taking it out. So there was more oxygen to begin with. So during the process, they had more oxygen. So I'll use what oxygen was in the water because of the more oxygenated water, and the circulator over here to keep the water fully oxygenated during the water change. Now what this allowed me to do, if you've watched my other videos, is I was able to do a very large water change during my water change time. Where before I thought I was going to have to do smaller water changes, I'm now back to doing at least about around 60-65% water change. That's also improving the coloration of these fish through a better water change. Now also, we're talking about oxygenation. The improvements to the filtration system, and I've not really explained how I did it yet, has allowed me to put more oxygen in your water, and more oxygen in your water is actually going to improve your coloration of your fish. Now people do not always, take that into consideration for the coloration of our fish. Now what I've done here, let me use my finger here, I'm going to get it up here where you can see it. Right here I've got tubes that come out from the mat and filter that go out further past the mat and filter and actually have more flow. There's two tubes coming out of the mat and filter, two pumps, and I got it working where there's more flow, more oxygenation. Now I have the tubes going through the mat and filter instead of sitting on top, and this process has allowed me to have a lot more oxygenation, which improves the overall health and coloration of all these amazing cichlids that you see here. Now look at them. You look at the past videos that I've done over the last few weeks and months of these fish, and the coloration has improved even though there's been a lot of growth in this aquarium. The growth rate has improved tremendously since they were moved from the 75-gallon to the 125-gallon. Now we'll look at something you might have noticed in this video compared to others, where if you look over here, there's a blue coloration of a mat. And that mat has been changed. So let's take a moment to talk about that mat. Now this mat is different from the mat I had previously. It's for a mat and filtration system. You can watch some other videos on how I set them up. This one is being, like I said, is different, that I have the tubes actually going through the mat itself instead of resting on top. This mat is a lot stronger. It is more expensive, but after a year and a half of using the previous mat, I decided, hey, I love the mat and filtration, but hey, there's different types of mats available. Why not change the type of mat I was using? So I did change the mat. I saw one on eBay and I got this one right here. Now they come in different colors, but also the color density, the color of the mat is also related to the density of the actual mat, as mean as the thickness of the pores, of how it flows through. And this one is high density. They have one that's a little bit more high density than this, and it's a different color. This has worked out really well. It was not something that worked great the first day, but after several days it started doing great. So great filtration, more flow. Before I had said that behind, let me get my finger in there, behind the mat filtration right here, the water level actually dropped below the main water level of the mat. And on this mat, the water level is all the way to the top of the aquarium. There's a lot more flow in there. There's not any debris being turned away. So the coloration of these amazing fish are doing well with actually a larger water change and better filtration. Now that's just common sense. If you have better filtration and larger water changes, your fish is going to do well. They're going to be more colorful. That's just something I've done. So you always need to think about your filtration, oxidization, and water changes. Those are 3 things so far that I've done to improve the coloration of all these African Cichlid Peacocks that you see here. Now the growth rate, like I said, has really been taking off. They're doing good. They're actually really hungry right now. They think there's some food up there for some reason. And that leads me to one of my 2 last things I've done. If you look down here on the bottom, there's sand substrate. It also has some crushed coral. I basically have decided that for my setups, the crushed coral is not something I want to do. Basically what I noticed that it was collecting a lot of more detritus, waste, fish poop, whatever you want to call it, on the bottom of the aquarium. So when the water comes across here, let me use my little pinky here, a little pointer finger. When the water comes across here, it's getting hung in the gravel pieces of the crushed coral and not going to the filter as well. So I've been taking that out slowly but surely. But this circulator pump is keeping the bottom of the water clear of debris by giving it good flow over the sand and the crushed coral. But I'm going to eventually in the future take more and more of the crushed coral out. I've taken some out so far and a lot of sand. I believe I had too much sand in this aquarium. Basically what the sand was doing, yes, it has good bacteria, but it was keeping a lot of waste inside the aquarium instead of in the filter. And then the filter gets a lot of oxygen, but below the sand you don't get as much oxygen, so the waste is not breaking down as fast as you would like it. So that's another improvement I have done recently to improve the color, because if you have good water quality, of course, that's just common sense, your fish are going to look a lot more colorful. But a lot of people do not take into consideration their substrate when thinking about the coloration of their fish. Now for the finale of this video, I'm going to talk about 2 different things. It's really one thing, but 2 different types of food I've decided to start using. I have been using an inexpensive cichlid pellet because I have so many aquariums, but for my YouTube channel and coloring up my fish to make them look the best, for my own enjoyment, a variety of reasons, I decided to use a different fish food. So let me take you some time to show you this fish food. It doesn't mean you have to use it. I'm just trying a different type of fish food to improve the color. Basically, you know, I went for a company that's in business, not just the individual, that's making fish food and made it for years. This fish food is actually made in the United States. If you're from the United States, you want to be patriotic. You know, it's always great to have something made in your own country, regardless of where you're from. So if you're from a different country, you may want to purchase something from your own country that's made there. But if you're from the United States, this one is a food that you might want to take into consideration to try. It's the Mega 1 Cichlid Pellet Sinking. I decided to go for sinking, even though your peacocks can eat it off the surface of the water. I went for sinking because they get less oxygen in their bellies, better digestion for them if it's sinking. That's just my own opinion. You can differ with it. It does not matter. So let's take a moment to look and see how they like this. I've actually not tried this with this fish yet, but my friend has for years. So let's check out and see how they like it. Now I'm going to have the camera on the bottom of the aquarium, but they may get most of the food before it even reaches the bottom. So let's see how they do with this new cichlid pellet. It's color enhancing, and that's what this video is all about, is to improve the color of my peacocks. Basically, they're going like crazy. Look at them go. So let me put it to the top because they're getting it before it gets to the bottom. So let's see how they like it again. They're going at it like crazy. They're liking it. They're not spitting it back out. This fish food's got a lot of good ingredients. It's got seafood in it. Let's put some more in there. They're really going for it. Now, what it says on the directions, which normally I don't go by directions, is you basically stop feeding them just whatever they can eat in 2 minutes. So I'm going to maybe feed them a little bit more later, but they're good right now. Look at them all going in an all colorful fish. It's good to have good food. For years I've been using an inexpensive food. I decided to spend the extra amount, and this fish food I may not stick with, but so far it's looking good. The fish seem to like it. It is made in the USA, which is a bonus to those of you who live in the United States. That's really nice. It is a color enhancing food, which is the whole business of having peacock cichlids. So it may be one that you want to consider if you haven't already considered it and used it before. Now, I did mention that I was going to be using 2 different types of food that's different than in the past. I'm not going to show you the second food, the feeding of that. I'm going to show that in a future video. But I'll go ahead and tell you what I'm going to be using, which off and on I do use it. It just depends on how I shop, you know, how much money I have and so forth. So occasionally I'm going to be feeding them raw deveined shrimp. I've used it really well and successful for my Funtosas, and I'll be using it here for my Peacock Cichlids. So this is basically, the whole video has been about improving the coloration of these awesome, amazing Peacock Cichlids. They're looking great, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you don't like my suggestions, at least you may enjoy the view of all these amazing fish, because they are amazing and they're getting more and more colorful. Now, the food I've been using in the past has been, you know, a non-name brand. Today's the day I started using the new food. So we'll be coming back to this same aquarium, the same fish, and you can tell me if you can see a difference. Now, it's harder to see that, you know, if you're looking on a small screen, but sometimes it really can just bloom up on you, and even if you use a small screen, you can tell the difference. So stay tuned in my channel and see if you can see the coloration difference after I've made all these improvements for color. Thanks again for watching. Sexy African Cichlids. Until next time.